Let's welcome Republican Congressman Greg Steube of Florida. Congressman, you were listening to what the president was saying just now. What's your reaction to what President Trump just said at the presser?
Well, my reaction is he's 100% correct. I mean, you're not seeing this type of violence and these type of actions being taken by Antifa and others in cities run by Republicans. You're seeing them in cities that are calling for the defunding of the police departments. You're seeing them in cities that are defunding their police departments and doing away with entire units like we saw in New York City. And in my district here in the 17th District of Florida, you're not seeing anything like that. And if you did, the law enforcement here and the sheriff's department here would very quickly deal with any violence that would be going on against property or against people here. So you're seeing this in Democratic-led cities. He's absolutely correct. And I commend the president for going to Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow. I think he'll be very welcome there. And I think the people there who support law enforcement and support law and order will appreciate a visit by a president.
The governor of Oregon now surging police into Portland to stop the unrest. This is after about 3 months, 90 straight days of unrest in Portland. The suspect allegedly arrested earlier this year, the suspect who shot a Trump supporter, he brought a loaded gun to a Portland protest and then he was released. Now, the county DA covering the city of Portland announced a new policy, Congressman, saying we're going to weaken down and limit the types of charges we can bring against rioters. He's not going to pursue charges for interfering with a police officer. So Portland is at the same time watering down the charges it could bring to stop the rioting. Your reaction?
And what do you think is going to happen when you do that? Of course, you're encouraging violence. I saw in Virginia, they lowered the penalty from a felony to a misdemeanor of attacking or assaulting law enforcement officers. When you start doing those things, what do you think is going to occur? More violence, more unrest. You're egging on Antifa and others to attack our law enforcement when you're not going to enforce the crime, or you're going to lesser the crime against our law enforcement officers. This is the time where the majority of Americans who support law and order and support our police need to stand up and do what we can to support law enforcement in our community.
Here's the other thing going on. More than 300. The president actually, I think, just said more than 1,000 arrested. 175 individuals arrested in Portland. More than 100 of them came from 44 cities outside the city of Portland. They came from 44 cities outside the state of Oregon. Ken Buck, Congressman, and Senator Rand Paul wanted the DOJ to investigate who is funding these rioters. Here's the other thing that is going on as well. I mean, the evening edit, we repeatedly had on police and law enforcement officials saying, yes, throw the book at individual cops who are committing bad acts and shooting black people. They also say people are allowed to police free protest under the First Amendment, but you have no right to riot or kill or loot. You have no right to do that. And the protests, the rioting is not helping. It's just ending up in now 32 people dead. Your reaction?
I can't imagine anybody in Portland that is a law-abiding citizen that would want to live in an environment where all of this is going on. And you have the Democratic nominee as vice president actually posting on her Twitter page, encouraging people to donate to MFF, Minnesota Freedom Fund, to actually pay and raise money to bail out these violent rioters, some of which are convicted felons, and bail them out. She is raising money to bail out these people that are causing all this havoc. And then today, Biden wants to say that he doesn't support violent protests, yet his vice president nominee is raising money to bail these people out of jail.
And the president said 13 members of the Biden team also is donating to that. We've checked reports into that. That seems to be the case. I'd like to turn to this. Portland protesters are accused of celebrating after the Trump supporter was shot. Watch this protester on a megaphone getting applause and cheers when she says she's not said an innocent person was shot dead in Portland Saturday night. And watch another protester say she, quote, wants to put police in a graveyard. Watch this.
We can hold it down without the police. We can take out the trash on our own. I am not sad that a fascist died tonight.
I'm at the point where I'm ready to put these police in the grave. I'm at the point where I want to burn the White House down.
Okay, so law enforcement, and also we've talked to Democrats too. Democrats and individuals say that you continue to let this go on, people start to enjoy it. They start to revel in it. And that needed to be stopped at the outset, because now nearly 3 dozen people now dead in the unrest since May. Your reaction?
It's just incorrigible, the type of things that are going on in our country. And I would say to every American out there listening that if you are not registered to vote, register to vote. And if you don't believe and support the type of violence and activities that are going on, go out and vote for Trump this November and ensure that we take back the House and ensure that this type of activity doesn't occur in our America and in our states and our communities.
To Kyle Rittenhouse, he's accused now of homicide charges. His attorney is saying he was acting in self-defense. He's being called a vigilante. There's, the protesters are saying militias are now moving in to take us on. What is your reaction to the attorney saying, no, he's not a vigilante. He was defending him. He was basically attacked. He acted in self-defense, and he was moving to protect a store that was about to be burned down by rioters. This is a very delicate case. What's your reaction to this?
Well, certainly I question why an individual like that would be armed and then go into an environment that he knows is going to be tense and violent and those type of activities going on. But I watched the video just like everybody else did. I watched new video that came out today, and it's very clear to me that he's certainly defending himself from the people that are chasing after him, throwing things at him and trying to attack him. So certainly from the video I saw, that appears to be the fact that he's defending himself. But obviously this investigation is ongoing, and I'm not going to make a call until all the facts and evidence are before the American people and before a jury that's going to decide this case. But from the video that I saw, clearly he was reacting to people that were attacking and assaulting him.
Well, that's the answer I think people are looking for when it comes to peace and unity. It's not mob rule deciding the law in the streets. It's a reasonable discussion of the facts and the circumstances of what is going on. Right, Congressman?
Yeah, Steny Hoyer not too long ago, before we even knew anything about the shooting in Wisconsin, sent out a press release condemning the actions of law enforcement. And then we find out that he resisted arrest, and then we find out that he was tased, and then we find out that he had law enforcement officers in a headlock, and then we find out that he had a knife in the car. And so why are you making assertions supporting criminals from criminal activity that are attacking our police officers before you even know the facts? Let's find out and investigate what actually occurred, and then we can make our decisions. If it was a law enforcement officer who acted outside of his purview and outside of his training and protocol, then there is a court of justice that's going to deal with that.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to see you again. Come back soon.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me.